Okay, so open range breakout, what we're going to learn, and Google had, this was a play we took today, and let's see, this is what we look like right here. Okay, so do you guys see how Google, it gapped up, consolidated, right? And then if if you were playing for a gap close or something, it's like, all right, maybe I can buy some at gap close or whatever. Well, you didn't get filled. Well, how else can you get in this? What's another edge? Well, for me, it's called open range break, and I have actually a scanner that lets me know, and it keeps track of open range breaks to the up, to the downside, right? Because I can't watch all stocks all the time, but Google is one that I'm watching. And so the idea is simple. After you have consolidated, what direction you pick will often be, on trend days especially, will often be the direction that you go. Now, fair warning, this has been an edge that has not worked great the past couple weeks, maybe, within all the chop, right? That's what chop is it breaks out, it breaks down, it breaks out, it breaks down, and it just doesn't work. But this is how they're supposed to work, right? So Google, it triggers its open range break, and I was seeing this setup, and you could see, right, what pattern is this right here? Right, this is that woodpecker pattern, that flat top, whatever you want to call it. And guess what else it was? It was lining up with this volume profile, right? So this is the kicker. You want to make sure that you're breaking out into a range that will have no resistance above you, so you can get some distance, right? So everything was a check. You can see the next levels up here. It's like, all right, let's play this open range breakout, and literally you can buy the breakout. I did. And as it broke out, I was like, here we go. Well, it came back in, and I was like, well, there you go. It's going to be another failed breakout. But for me, the risk profile for me was, as long as we stay above these people, right? They're still going to be happy. If we start getting below these people, then they're going to start stopping out, and you're going to get a rollover, and you're going to come down here and close the gap. So for me, I was like, all right, you did a quick whip and you broke back down. It's no big deal. I'm still holding. And then off we went, right? So this is a very basic concept of the idea of technical analysis. Is when you get into breakout or breakdown ranges, you usually get a push in that direction, up or down. So let's look at another one. And if we were to throw up NVIDIA, did we have an opportunity here on NVIDIA? Does anybody see an open range breakout or breakdown on NVIDIA? You guys remember the plan? Remember how to do it? So you've got your opening range. Did this do an open range breakout? Did NVIDIA give us an open range breakout here? No, it didn't, right? What about a breakdown? Oh yeah. Yeah, it sure did. So usually, again, this is just technical analysis 101. These are VP lines that we drew, right, from back over in here, right, in this area. Well, once you break down, you should push to the next level. We did. And then you'll get a retest. Now, the beauty of these type of trades is there's usually multiple opportunities to get in and out of them, right? So if you look at this, right, here's your breakdown. Did we retest this breakdown level? Absolutely, right? So if you're like, well, dang, I missed the open range breakdown, maybe I can get the retest. Does that make sense? And if you look back on Google, you had a quick retest, but that was it right here. So the idea is simple. You set in an open range, which is going to be the high and the low. Okay? Once that range is broken, you want to try to trend that stock that day to go in that direction. There is an interesting stat. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna try to find it, but basically I'm gonna describe it to you. If you were to take your first hour, so let's just throw on a 65-minute chart. On most days, today's Fed speaking day, so just be aware of that. On most days, when you break in one direction, you don't break the other direction. That's like 85% of the time. So what that means is, if we were to look at yesterday, do you see your first hour on the SPY? I'm sorry, this was the 26th. So if you look at the 26th, this is your first hour. You see how we broke up? The odds of us breaking up and then back down are extremely small. Right? Only 15% of the time does that happen. Well, what about the next day? Well, here's your opening hour the next day. Well, we broke down for sure, but we never broke back up. Well, what about the next day? Well, there's your hour level for the next day, which is this candle. Did we break down? Yep. Did we break back up? Nope. So 3 for 3 so far. What about the 25th? Yep. Same thing for the 25th, right? We broke in one direction and we went. So you can see, even in a choppy market, these rules still apply. What about the next day? What about the previous day? Here's your opening hour. Yep, sure did. Broke down and stayed down, right? What about the previous day? Yep, same there. What about the previous day? Yep. So it looks like so far we are like we're like one. There's another one. This one worked. This one worked. This one did not. So here's the first one where it did not work. So the first one is the 10th. Every single day has worked except back to the 10th. Okay. So again, this is the idea behind the open range break. Does everybody understand that? Does 60 minutes first define the opening range? No, not necessarily. So just know that that's the statistic, right? Now, if you're trying to do a 1 minute open range break, right? Like, no, not really. But on Google, I'll give you an example. Like Google was, 30 minutes, right? You see this right here? So you don't have to use an hour. But it's just like everything else. If you're playing a breakout on a daily versus a 1 minute, the daily is more likely to hold than the 1 minute. And so the reason I was showing you the hourly stats is because that's the same thing. We're basing it off of that. So if you break out of a 5 minute open range breakout, right, then the odds of that breaking down are going to be higher, obviously, because it's only 5 minutes. If you do 30 minutes, it'll be better than a 5 minute, but it won't be as good as an hour, right? But that's just the philosophy and the theory behind it is when you break out of ranges, you should push that direction. That's what a breakout is. Break up, break down, whatever way you're breaking, that's how you should do it. But what we can do here, let's look at Google. Right? Google hourly. Of course, the last few days has been correct. Yeah, so that one's right. That one's right. So the first time that Google didn't do it was the 19th. So for the hourly on Google, you've got 19, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 29, 30. So 1 out of 8 so far. 9, 10. Oh, so here, 2 out of 11, right? It failed. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 it failed. So 3 out of 18 failed, right? So anyway, right, these are the stats that we're playing against. These are the theories that we want to play against. You're going to lose every once in a while, but ideally, we're wanting to play that break. All right, let me catch up on chat. So what happens when you break highs and lows is you should get an influx of volume of buyers and or stopper routers, right? So on Microsoft, the idea here is as we start breaking out, we should see an influx of volume. You should see volume going up down here, right? If you don't get the influx of volume, remember yesterday I said, guys, we don't have enough volume, it's going to fail, and then it failed. Well, that's what I'm talking about. You want to see volume come in that creates the push up and away. And then you see how that one, you see how that volume went up right there? So it's like, okay, now we're starting to get a little bit of volume. Boom. Right? Boom. See how it's growing now? That's what you want to see. Boom, 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 boom. Because that's algorithms, that's day traders, boom, boom, boom. Same thing on NVIDIA to the short side or whomever. All right, so you see this candle breakdown right here? See that volume? Boom. Right? Boom, volume, retest, boom, volume, volume. That's what you need to see. So, anyway. Okay, so pretty simple edge, pretty simple strategy. Does anybody have any questions for me? So the question that I was just now seeing, how do you figure out your stops on an open range break? Well, the idea is simple. You want it to go. So for me, I've got like a timed stop as well as a price stop. So for example, on Google, do you see how we broke up and we're coming back in? It's like, all right, we got to go in the next few minutes. Otherwise, we're going to roll over and we're going to break down. Right, so there's one. The second one was determined by the VP of these people. Sometimes your VP may be up a little higher, right? A lot of times you'll get these tight squeezes up here, and so you may buy at 164.50 and your stop would be at 164.15. But the complicated answer is it should be your retest should not bring you back below the closest group of people that created your open range breakout. So for example, on Google, literally I'm just looking at who is traded today. And here, let me show you the picture. I'm going to try to get this to look. Okay. I think everybody can see this, right? So when Google was getting ready, right, to do its open range breakup here, there we go. These people here are the ones that absorbed, created the legs for us to push. These people need to stay happy or we're dead. So is there a chart pattern? Is there a VP? Is there something I can play? Well, yeah, there is. That's pretty obvious, right? Boom, boom, boom. There's your stop. We come back down, we start breaking below 163, 50-ish, 85-ish, anywhere in this general area, I'm going to get out. And this will change. Like, if this was a higher and tighter squeeze, like maybe Microsoft was... No, Microsoft was a little bit different. So on Microsoft, a good example of the stop here, it's very different than Google's, right? You're trying to maintain an area that keeps people happy on the long side or downside, whichever one you're doing. And so if we were to look at Microsoft, so I'm going to snip this one out. And we're going to do a before and after. Right? This open range break is very different. Right? This is what it looks like when it was breaking out. Right? And then all of a sudden, you come back in. Did these people ever get upset right here? As long as these people hold you, you're fine. Now, whether they're going to hold you or not, I don't know. You never know. Well, this is what the stock looked like afterwards. Here, let me snip this out. So for me on Microsoft, right? Do you remember the levels from the previous pick? Right here. Right? You're basically looking at this between 391 and 392. These are the people that are holding you. You look over here on this. Did it ever break the 391, 392 level? No, it didn't. Is it wrong to stop out because it did a breakout and then it came back in? No. There's no, if that's what you want to do, you've already taken profits. Like what I do oftentimes is the goal is, let's take a quick scalp, right? Boom, I scalped out $1 or $2. Well, what that does is that lets me be a little bit more flexible on my stop. And so now I can let it come down to the VP level, the lower VP level. And if it doesn't break that lower VP level, I'm good. Or if I'm being much more protective that day, I'm like, all right, I took some profits out. I'm going to put a stop at my entry. Right? There's no wrong way to do this as long as you are protecting risk control and following your risk profile. Okay. Let me catch up again on chat. You said I was trading this morning. Where can I find these trades? I put them in chat. They're just in chat. If you're in here trading with me, they're in chat, and you can look at it and try to figure out what I'm doing if you want to play it with me or not. I don't do quote unquote official trades. Main reason for that, for all the new people in here, there's a lot of legal things that happen when you are quote unquote making official alert trades. Like, you got to follow these stupid rules. You can't buy it and sell it within a few minutes or whatever. So you can't come in here and just buy it and then put in a hard stop. Anyway, it affects your trading, and I don't want to deal with that. Not to mention the rules that we don't know, right? You can actually search by just, if you hit Control F on your screen and type in D-Man, you can go back and see, any of the any of my any of my chats. Does that make sense? Right, Steve? So I think that the older people know this, but for the newer people, one of the things that's happened in my life is I've been very successful and I've had a lot of money, and there's certain rules about what you can do with that money. And one of those rules was you can't take out more than a certain amount from a bank. Like, and I was doing an object lesson for my managers, and I took out $250,000 because I wanted to show them, I wanted to show these people in cash, hey, that's a lot of money, right? And so I'd ask my managers, do you guys want this money? And they're all like, heck yeah. And then I'd be like, well, that's what this store is. That's literally what this store costs that I'm giving you, right? And so like the managers, like it really hit home to them how much I trust them, right? Like I'm literally trusting you with $250,000, and we're in this together. Let's be partners and make money together, right? I did profit sharing programs with my managers and stuff like that because I wanted to be partners. Well, to get that $250,000, one bank doesn't carry 250 grand. Who knew, right? Like, how do you not have 250 grand? I got that buried in my backyard under the steps. But anyway, you have to go to different banks. And so like you take out like 12,000 at one bank, you take out 15 at another bank, you take out 10 at another bank, and eventually you can come up with your 250 grand, right? Well, that's illegal. And I had to spend over $500,000 fighting the stupid U.S. government to prove that I'm not money laundering. I'm like, look, it was deposited 3-4 days later. All of the money was put back in the banks. Every single deposit is exactly the same. But I had to spend $500,000 to fight off the stupid U.S. government. And I won. And, great. I've got a plaque on my wall. And that's the most expensive art piece in my entire house. Right? $500,000. So it's ridiculous. So anyway, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the legal side of things. Again, I know there's great lawyers out there, but I don't like lawyers. I don't like how they just go after things. I like the good lawyers, but anyway, it does. It's like, and I can't tell. Like, guys, that instance really set an alarm off in my head of what the real world is like. Like, I'm not kidding. These guys were like, hey, we'll offer you a plea deal if you go and buy drugs from this guy and try to hire this hooker and try to do this, and we're trying to bust this person, and you can help us do this, and we'll give you a plea deal and we'll let you off. And so now it's like, oh my gosh, really? So now I got to go put my life in danger, and who knows if they're telling the truth. Maybe they're going to arrest me for buying drugs off this guy. It's like crazy stuff. The legal system tries to get you to do all this crap, and it's like, no, I'm gonna fight you in court. Anyway, some attorneys are okay. Yeah, no, they are. The attorney that I hired to help me is great. Anyway. Right, Palm Beach. It's crazy. The world is crazy, guys. Just all I can say is be safe. Like, here, I'll give you another example. I literally hired convicts. So I don't know if you guys know what work release is, but there's a work release program that you can hire convicts and they'll come to work for you in your stores. And I would hire these people out of jail. Well, guess what the worst thing that any one of these people ever did to me? Literally, I hired hundreds of them. The worst thing that the worst person, they stole $10,000 to $12,000 from me, right? It's like, okay, I get it, yeah. But I didn't have to drop $500,000 for anything, So I feel safer with the convicts and ex-cons than I do sitting in an office with the government. Anyway. Yeah, Lee, I do too. They get a bad rap. A lot of them just make stupid mistakes as kids. I donate a lot of money to help people get out of prison. Yeah, it's Simpsons, exactly. There's no doubt they're listening. There's no doubt they're listening, Sugar Dog. Okay, so anyway, I know Nate's supposed to get on at 1. I know he'd been on for a while. Nate G or Nate B, are you here? So anyway, simple answer to the question: there's never going to be a time in my life where I am quote unquote signing papers that give away rights for myself to help other people. But I will help other people when I don't have to give away rights that protect me. Oh, okay, you're gonna do the FOMC. Yeah, that'll be fun. Um, yeah, I'll trade that with you, Nate. You know, I think Nate said this, um, but there's an edge that we that we use. We fade whatever the initial move is. So let's say that 2 o'clock rolls around and we pop up. Well, usually that we can fade that back down for when Powell starts speaking. Well, if it pops down at 2 o'clock, you can usually fade it back up, right? So whatever the initial move is, it often gets faded. Just FYI. Yeah, it will, Oberon. So here's the other thing about. Let's talk about the FOMC thing for just a minute. What you need to understand is what is the market pricing in? What's going to be different? What's going to push us up? What's going to push us down? Right? That's what you got to have to understand. So, what do you guys think the expectation is for the Fed meetings right now that are going to come out? Do you guys have any idea? Yes, there is, Joseph. That's a great question. So Joseph's question was, "Hey, is there a way to pick good candidates for this open range breakout?" 100%. Look for stocks that have news, that have upgrades or downgrades. Look for stocks that have recent earnings, and any type of RVOL. Right? Those are the best ones to do, in my opinion.